Good morning, everyone, and thanks very much for the introduction. My name is Ridwan Suleiman. I'm based at the CSIR. Today I'll be sharing with you broadly some of the projects within the Design and Optimization Research Group where I'm currently based. And then I'll be talking through some of the ongoing efforts and activities in the project of using data to drive decision-making and policy towards the application of building water and sanitation monitoring systems. While I have your attention, I decided to change my slides around a little bit. I'll come back to a bit more of an introduction and hopefully join the dots as I go through my presentation. So we are at a high-performance computing conference and within a DERISA track. I found these statistics quite, I wouldn't say interesting, but also quite staggering, and thought maybe to share some of that with you. We live in a world where we have increasing amounts of data that's generated every second, basically, and we require technological advances to maintain that data. We've heard about some of the efforts to improve high-performance computing clusters and systems, but in terms of data storage and data management, have any of you ever looked at how water intensive some of the water-cooled data centers are? So these are for water-cooled data centers, which are more efficient than air-cooled data centers, but they consume 1.2 to 4 million liters of water per day, which for me I found quite staggering. That's equivalent to the daily needs of a small town of around 10,000 people. So on a per megawatt basis, a water-cooled data center uses approximately 3,000 to 8,000 liters per megawatt of load. To give some examples, some of the bigger culprits, I'd say, Google, for example, in 2021 published that they utilize 16 billion liters of water globally for their data centers. We know that they have some of the biggest data centers globally. So that's an average of 44 million liters per day. Microsoft is another example in 2022 in some of its desert-based centers consumes about 1 million liters of water per day. The point being that, we do need to improve the technology, but bear in mind that it's not only resource intensive in terms of economics, but also in terms of natural resources. Ironically, it took me 10 Google searches to put the slide together, which consumed, I guess, approximately 1 tablespoon of water. Coming back to basic services, so I work at the organization where the mandate is to do directed research to improve the lives of all South Africans. That's very broad, and I mean, we need to also start with the basic services. The Constitution of South Africa states that each South African should have the right to at least 42 liters of water per resident per day. That's a constitutional right. It seems fairly small, but I think even then, as a country, we may not necessarily be meeting that threshold for all of the citizens of the country. I included the picture on the left, which I took yesterday on my walk back to the hotel. Some of you may recognize. So basically, we've gone through many periods in this country, or we know that there are many areas that are struggling with water resources. I found the sign on the way back and thought to also include it, which indicates that this area that we're currently in is a water scarce area, been undergoing restrictions for a long period. Some of us who've come up from Johannesburg have also in recent weeks undergone periods of water shedding, I guess, where many days we've had little to no water. So seemingly while the energy load shedding crisis may be of the past for now, water is quite an important topic and quite critical that we develop systems to monitor and to also support decisions and policy for this crucial resource. Finally, the slide on the right is a projection of water stress, which is the ratio of human water demand to water availability by the year 2050. And what you'll notice if you look at the where we're located is that the projection is that there'll be extremely high demand. So certainly all indicators point towards us having significant water crisis in the country and having to support decision-making systems to use our water more sustainably. I hope that sort of gives some sort of a background as to why the need for these systems. Maybe just to take it back a bit as a bit of an introduction where this project fits in. The Department of Science, Technology and Innovation has a decadal plan which has 9 STI domains of focus, which includes big data amongst many others as part of the Industry 4.0. The decadal plan, the goal of the plan is to increase the contribution of the national system of innovation to achieve South Africa's national objectives through various means. As part of the plan, one of the flagship programs of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation is the Foundational Digital Capability Research Program. This is funded by the department and administered by the CSIR. There are 5 domains within the FDCR project, and the work shown here today forms part of Domain 1, which is the Modeling and Simulation domain. This domain consists of a number of projects and activities. You may have attended one of the talks yesterday by my colleague, which focused on multi-scale modeling efforts. In this work, the activities are focused on the use of data or extracting value from data and developing data-driven models towards advanced decision support tools. So this all forms part of the modeling and simulation domain within the Foundational Digital Capability Research Program. There are 4 primary programs within this project, and the focus today is on the last one, Program 4, being the Data-Driven Modeling and Simulation Program. And I'll speak a bit more then on some of the activities, ongoing activities in building water and sanitation systems. So I kind of already touched on the need for these systems, but maybe to just summarize is to use data to develop evidence-based decision support systems and to apply learnings globally, but within the local context. And there's clearly a need for such systems within South Africa, as I'll also show from what some of the data indicates. As part of developing a decision-making support system, one needs robust data management frameworks and processes that includes the integration, storage, accessibility of various data sets to support real-time monitoring and long-term strategic initiatives. And we're very glad to also partner with DIRISA to support us in these efforts. Further there, the data does require analysis and then the development of data-driven models to identify patterns, trends, anomalies, etc., to inform the decision-making, planning, and policy. This will support future infrastructure as well as sustainably managing water supply for all South Africans. So when it comes to water systems within South Africa, there does exist a very comprehensive national integrated water information system developed by the Department of Water and Sanitation that cuts across many of the facets of the water value chain, from climate and weather to disaster management to monitoring networks to systems that focus on water quality, water quantity, as well as water resources and services. The challenge that we found when looking at the NIWIS system is that, well, there are a few when it comes to data management. Much of the data is static and possibly goes back many, many years, so quite outdated. So there's certainly a need for real-time data and for more updated data. When it comes to the sources of the data as well as the frequency of collection, those remain a bit unclear, as well as the accuracy in some of the data. But one of the biggest challenges is the integration across many of the databases and data sets. The system itself is, as I've said, quite comprehensive, but is not very user-friendly, but slow to manage. It's a complex system consisting of multiple data sources and databases, and the link between them is not so clear. I think furthermore to state that many of these databases are not open source, not making it easy to actually utilize to develop these support systems. It's part of our ongoing efforts to gain access to these systems, but it's work in progress. I'll quickly just, or maybe just quickly go through some of the systems, just broadly. They're quite comprehensive, such as the HYDSTRA system, which has collected hydrological data over the past 100 years. It's a quite comprehensive data set. There are others which includes databases on the use of water, the water use authorization and registration management system. That's essentially to manage water resources. There are other management systems when it comes to monitoring and management of the resources. And then not only in terms of the water-specific data, but data on demography, basic services, policy, legal frameworks that also sit within the water services knowledge system. So there are a number of existing local databases. The problem and challenges that we face that they're not necessarily accessible, which is part of the efforts on this project, and together with DIRISA we hope to overcome. One of the global databases, ironically, what we found to be open source is the Water Supply, Sanitation and Hygiene, or WASH database, which is part of the joint monitoring program developed by or coordinated by the World Health Organization and UNICEF. It's a very large database with a number of data points for many, many countries. The focus being on water supply, clean water and safe sanitation. When we're looking at the data set for South Africa, as you might see in the slide, is that the number of data points that are missing, and also some of the data is not regular or updated quite frequently. Be that as it may, this has been the database that we've worked with thus far, and done a bit of analysis. I'll try and share some of that in the next few minutes. We've developed a dashboard with this WASH database. These are just a few snapshots of the dashboard, this focusing on water indicators, sanitation indicators, as well as hygiene indicators. What the database allows us to do is to also compare data indicators across countries, which is quite useful, and also to look at the data at a more detailed level within the country and across provinces. So what are some of the analysis or basic analysis tell us at this point? I'll focus just on two concepts, the first being clean water. Why is clean and safe water important? Well, it's quite basic that unsafe water sources are responsible for many, many deaths per year. It's one of the, not the largest, but one of the higher number of reasons for many deaths per year because of unsafe water, leading to higher risk factors for infectious diseases, including cholera, diarrhea, dysentery, etc. The interesting point that comes out when looking at the data set, as you can see from the graph on the bottom right, is that this particularly affects the poorest in the world. So in low-income countries, the number of deaths are twice as many as those in affluent countries. And so this is quite critically important for those of us, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. When looking at safe sanitation, a similar narrative emerges that the countries with lowest incomes only around 1 in 5 people use safe sanitation practices. And this is important again because safe sanitation reduces deaths from infectious diseases, prevents malnutrition, and provides dignity to citizens. So when we're talking about basic and essential services, the same narrative emerges that those countries in low income and sub-Saharan Africa particularly are the ones that are most at risk, which again justifies the need for us to develop a local decision support system to improve the lives of all South Africans. We're not just looking at the data for analyzing the data. The broader goal is to develop data-driven models that will feed in real time, hopefully, to these decision support systems. And there's a number of data requirements to develop these models, not just particular indicators in water and sanitation, but we need a holistic approach incorporating many other metrics, including population metrics, the use of water in different industries, and climate data, some of what we also heard earlier at the beginning of the session. So there is a broader and holistic objective towards building these data-driven models, which is work in progress. Maybe just to point out that we're not only looking at clean water and safe sanitation data, which I've highlighted, but we've also analyzed some local rainfall data when looking at water quantity, but these are localized, and use them to try and make some forecasts and predictions when it comes to rainfall patterns. I alluded to many of these challenges and limitations during the presentation, but I thought to maybe highlight them once again. When we're looking at data, whether it be to develop decision support systems in water and sanitation or many other applications, some of the key challenges and limitations emerge which come across all of these applications. The need for more data, for quality data, that there's limitations when it comes to analyzing the data, as well as bias. Whoever looks at the data can interpret the data differently. So all of these challenges and limitations remain, particularly in this project, but similarly in many other applications. I want to come towards a conclusion by mentioning again that this project and activities are part of the Foundational Digital Capability Flagship Program. And as part of this, we're not only keeping this within the CSIR, but invite other stakeholders and collaborators to form part of our efforts towards these decision support systems. As I highlighted in the previous slide, there are many challenges, and what we need is more the sharing of more data and more people to come on board and be part of these efforts. So I invite others to also hopefully together with, in collaboration with DIRISA, to also form part of this data collaboration web tool. I won't go through all of these conclusions, but basically just highlight that data mining and management really does play an important role in advancing water and sanitation systems, as I've tried to indicate throughout the presentation today. And hopefully as we improve our data collection and data quality and data analysis techniques, we can work towards leveraging this data towards better management and utilizing water resources, not only for basic services, but also towards advancing technological systems. Let me conclude by acknowledging the services of DIRISA, as well as the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation and the CSIR for this work. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thank you very much for the presentation, and that's a small token.
Thank you.
Okay.